commented on my shirt that I got from Avia Shirts, the Caleb Williams shirt with the logo that looks like an Air Jordan. Baby. Yeah.
Close. Yeah.
And they did a great job with it. I don't know if you saw the news. Caleb is getting his number 13 retired by USC. Okay. They announced that today.
Okay, good.
He's
good
only one of 8 players in USC history to get their number retired.
Wow. I wonder how many of the 8 I can name. I won't do it now.
We just tried to do it. They're all Heisman winners.
I was going to say they all got to be Heisman winners. We know one of them is sort of infamous.
Yeah, and
we know Mike Garrett is one. We know Marcus Allen is one, and we know Bam Cunningham is one.
Oh, I don't think Bam Cunningham was one. No, Charles White was one.
Charles White.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember growing up in Cincinnati, Ohio, of all places to be dialed into USC football. But I think that was like one of the only
premier they were on every Saturday.
Yeah,
that was your 3:30 game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was it. You were getting USC. Yes. I mean, same here. Living here in Chicago, I was watching student body left, student body right.
Yes.
With Charles White.
Loved it.
And then, whoever came between Charles White and Marcus. Anthony Davis.
Could have been.
Anthony Davis. Even before Marcus Allen. It was glorious. It was glamorous.
Yeah. By the way, I said to Michael before we went on the air, I said, how excited are you for this Bears opener? And you said?
I can think of 3 times I've been this excited about a Bears starting a season. 1984. I was on it. I just thought,
you knew they were getting good.
I thought they were going to be great, and I was wired from. Didn't they win the opener like some crazy score, like 41-31 over Cleveland, or 31-21 maybe? It was a big score. It was a score. You go, no, they're not. The defense is supposed to be better than that, and then they still got hot. Maybe that was the first game in 85, but they beat Cleveland.
85. They beat Tampa by a big score like that. I remember that, like in the opener, and like I was surprised that the defense wasn't better against the Bucs.
I was. So anyway, 84.
84. They beat Tampa 34-14 to start the season.
What's 85? 85. Look at the 85.
Cleveland. I thought Cleveland was one of them. But 84, 85, and 2006. So they at least got to the title game all 3 years that I've been this excited. No, I'm not expecting
should we put them in the title game?
No.
85, they beat the Bucs 38-28.
Yeah.
That's the game.
You were worried that the defense was, come on, they're better
be
than
suspect.
This. Yeah.
And so, but anyway, this is, I'm completely out of control, irresponsibly so, with my not expectations, with my hopes and attachment to this team. Totally out of control.
So what do you expect Caleb to look like?
I don't know. And I'm not even going to allow myself to have expectations.
Why? Is it
doesn't make any sense.
Is it because you don't want to get hurt? Like
no.
We were talking about George McCaskey said on our airwaves a few weeks ago. Yeah, I got it right here. And he had a similar quote like this in the Sun-Times that someone called about, because this fan didn't like that George McCaskey wants everyone to temper their enthusiasm. This was him during one of the preseason games with Joniak and Thayer.
Keep the faith. Yeah. There's excitement. Yeah, there's expectation. But it's going to take a while for things to come together. We can't expect Caleb to be all world from day one.
That's just sensible. You guys know me by now. I'm old and crotchety, and I can say what I want to say. I hate most people when it comes to what they think about sports. I hate them. Okay? You hear what I'm saying?
I hear you.
People are morons. If anybody's going to criticize that, you're a moron. I don't care who you work for. That's just reasonable. It doesn't go overnight. Look at Troy Aikman's record in his first 15 games. Look at Peyton Manning. Stop it. People are fools, and I hate them.
But this team is better than those teams.
Okay, so fine. So they can be 8-8.
Oh, no.
It doesn't mean
they can't be 8-8.
Yeah, they can, and they're in a division which may be the best division in football.
17 games now. They can't be.
You can be like Don if you want.
By the way, did you see? I saw this stat today. I think it's 2002.
Yeah.
The first overall pick, if that player's a quarterback, is 0-14-1.
0-14-1. So which you balance? You balance that or the stat that says
their first game.
For teams that have been as high on the plus minus in the preseason as the Bears, those 5 teams, 2 of them won Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Which one? So that is why you have to ignore. People should know enough about sports, and they don't. They don't read about sports. They don't know anything that happened outside their own little stupid town, however big that town is. They don't know anything. They don't know anything about history. They don't know about human nature. Most of them have never been in a locker room, much less to put on a jock strap, much less to talk to somebody who's had one on. They don't know anything. And so we now are just, and I make money off this industry. Don't get me wrong. I see the hypocrisy, okay? I spend every day preaching to people, many of whom, a large percentage, I think, should be certified, okay? But I know the difference, and I'm not going to be swayed by their stupidity. I'm not. How irresponsible? What the hell have I been doing this for 45 years for if I'm going to let some moron talk me into a position? I'm not. McCaskey's position is just reasonable. It's mandatory. No, it's requisite. And if something else happens, you say, oh, my God. So you can't even have the element of surprise now because people are so dumb?
Well, look, I understand why people do have expectations or don't necessarily want to say to themselves, all right, I'm not expecting bad. Like, for instance, let me give you a couple examples. Caleb Williams' upbringing and the way he has been molded for this reminds me of two guys who played in this town who were instant stars. And they're Chris Bryant and Derrick Rose. And Chris Bryant was a born baseball player whose dad, at a very young age, knew that he was going to be on this path to be a baseball player. And he had all the pressure of the world, being a great college player, being a minor league player of the year. And he came up in 15, was instantaneously good, and was rookie of the year and was great. And then MVP in the World Series here. Derrick Rose, same thing. He had the surrounding of his brother Reggie, and he knew at a young age that he was going to be a basketball player, and they had a plan for him. And when he got to the NBA, no matter he was a small point guard, he played above the rim. He got that basketball in his hometown, pressure of playing in his hometown, that you knew that the talent was still, no matter what obstacle stood in his way, he was going to immediately be a star.
Well, you could be a. But
is it
here's
wrong
the difference.
To say that Caleb
it's
has
not,
the
it's
talent
apples to oranges.
And the upbringing?
One, football players cannot impact one football player, even though quarterback is the exception on the field. Still, we've seen. Ask Archie Manning. What was he reared to? What was he raised to be? And what did he do subsequently with his own kids and now a grandchild? He couldn't do a damn thing with the Saints. Okay, so you cannot manipulate the game, even at quarterback, if you don't have the other stuff. And so we think Caleb does. But Silvy, my only disagreement with what you're saying, I don't disagree with anywhere the way you characterize those guys. Their expectations and their hopes, and those are different things. Do I have the hopes of that for Caleb? Well, of course I do. And by the way, I can also say some of my expectations are insane. Most people they're not discerning enough to know. They're not. You guys have people all the time. We all run into people who declare things. We watch people on television declare stuff. I saw people basically curse somebody out for having that Carson Wentz, that overrated you-know-what. They got angry because somebody ranked him outside the top 100 players after that Super Bowl year. And I was like, you know what? This could be pretty accurate. And they assailed this guy. They attacked him. And they should know better. These people were all either former players or people in media. No one is discerning anymore. First of all, they're not discerning enough to allow for their own overstatement. That's the first place you need to be. What you don't hear on any of the shows except mine and Tony's are, I could be wrong about this. They don't say it.
Right.
People are not smart.
Or when they are wrong about it, they don't say,
they'll come back.
I was wrong on that.
We start there. So, the day that I had a bet with Matthew last year to start the NBA season, first day, I said the regular season, Oklahoma City is going to finish ahead of Dallas. That was the bet. They finished one. Wasn't about the pro season. So when they got a record that was indisputably going to put them ahead of Dallas, I didn't hear anything from him. I said, dude, I don't want to hear crickets. You better walk in this room and say, Dad, you got me. All right? We're not having that in this house.
What'd he say?
Dad, you got me. He can be written out.
Well done.
He can
Could be written out.
So stupidity in the discussion of sports is not where I live. It's not what I tolerate. I don't tolerate it. I'm not to come at me and just let it stand. I mean, I got to live with it because people are morons.
What is one of the most what is one of the most over enunciated points that hot take going on these days?
I don't know, because I just hear too many. It's every moment of every day. It's every topic. As soon as a team wins a game in college football, and if they run the table, you can't even put if they run the table out there reasonably. If you're talking, Columbus Day, every single thing is overstated. Everything on all of our shows. So now I'm talking about our network, and I can talk about Fox or FS1 or anything Barstool, Yahoo. It's all overstated all the time. And it just gets tiresome.
You know who's being, in my opinion, where the overstatements are always directed at? Dak Prescott. Either way. People
Cowboys bring on a lot of hot takes.
You have to either be you hate him, you have to really hate him.
Very well said.
And he's the most overrated player in the world, and he hasn't done anything, even though he's put up numbers, and he doesn't produce in the postseason, and he sucks, or he's going to win the MVP this year.
Just the declarations attached to every game, every team, every league, every season. It's just, can we just pipe down? You have a discussion with butt.
Do you know where my greatest feeling of optimism is not what leads me to project this. It's I look at the process. Sylvia's talked about this a lot, why it's not the correct process in different places. I think they're finally doing things up at Hallis Hall the right way.
Yeah.
And the foundation is in place. The process makes sense. Like we used to look at each other all the time and go, I don't know what they're trying to do. I know what they're trying to do now. And it makes sense. And that, however that manifests itself in this year or going forward, I feel pretty damn good that the arrow is pointed in the right direction. I predicted that they're going to have 10 wins this year. I don't know if they'll have 9, if they'll have 8, if they'll have 11, they'll have 12. But I feel pretty strongly that their arc is headed in the right way for a lot of reasons.
What you said even before that last sentence about the way they're going about things. I'm feeling I just told you guys I'm irrationally going into this season because I'm encouraged, I'm impressed, right? I am hopeful. I'm tempering the expectations. As that was Mike McCaskey who said that, right? Who said that?
No,
George.
That's George.
Yeah. George, am I saying? I just went back too far.
Yeah.
George McCaskey saying that. So I have most of that. I'm projection. I don't know. I'm like you. That was well said. But this notion that people know what's going to happen, you better take your butt to Vegas. Then shut up and get on a plane and go to Vegas and let's put your money where your mouth is, literally. But in the meantime, the declarations is like, is sports conversation better because everybody has to have a hot take? Everybody with a phone has to have a hot take.
Well, where did that start? Who is the producer where they said, look, you've got to make a declarative statement with every segment?
Not any studio I've been in. I'm not in that.
Well,
studio.
It sounds like it's the next door studio.
We were in a production meeting in Bristol where they basically.
Well, I'm not in Bristol.
No, I know.
I don't do any show, but no, I'm not. Like I tend to want to nod affirmatively.
Yeah,
I'm not in Bristol, so I don't know what the impetus is, and maybe somebody there, and I know a great many people there, will say, "Wait a minute, this just sort of evolved naturally, and we did not have intent here," and that's quite possible, by the way. I'm going to allow for organic exaggeration and declaration. But my God, you knew one game into the college football season, people are going to go crazy. I don't want to hear that. I don't.
Do you have expectations for the team up north that we all want to start getting the best of more frequently?
No, I have desire. I want them to fall flat on their face.
Yeah.
Do you have concern, though, that may have gotten it right again?
Yes. That's my bet. My brother goes nuts. Love's going to be terrible. You just wait. I go, no, he probably isn't going to be terrible. And I know one of the people who's dealt with the last 20 years of Packardom, and that would be Mark Murphy.
Yeah.
Okay. I've known Mark Murphy before he became involved with Packerdom because I covered him on a team called the Washington Redskins when he won some Super Bowls.
He was a safety.
Bowls,
yeah,
plural. And so the Packers seem to know what they're doing to get it right. I'm afraid of that. I'm not going to declare it. I'm afraid of it. And, but I love what the Bears are doing. I loved what they did starting with Jim Finks and what they did in that era and Venezia after that. I loved what they did. And it worked out. It should have worked out, we think, to more than one Super Bowl. It should have worked out to at least one more. Those 10-0 loss, those 10-0 leads evaporated both times to the Washington football team in the playoffs. Killed me to this day. I have to live with Darryl Green laughing at me.
But you were telling us you watched Hard Knocks. And some may suggest that some of that is, it's manufactured. However you want to, I don't feel like how they present themselves is. But when Ryan Poles walks you through the process of them making an offer for Matthew Judon, and then how the process of how they're structuring their roster, you get a strong sense that they're doing things the right way. They're not going to make all of the right decisions.
No. And I like the way the Poles sort of kicked himself and he said, if Judon comes back and has 15 sacks, like that was human nature, but also there's a short track record and it's impressive right now. And then the way he's doing this and the way his staff is doing this, the way they conduct themselves and the way they talk to players, those things are, you can't act. They're not that good at actors. If they already need to stop what they're doing as assistant coaches and go to Hollywood. So I like what they're doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I know how many wins. Listen, the New York Jets thought all these same things last year. How'd that go 4 snaps in?
No, you're right. I mean,
it's just, and again, that's why football is you are less able to come to these conclusions reasonably in football than anything else.
But I think but when you come to your conclusions in football, you have to almost factor out catastrophic injury because you just can't project taking injury.
No, you can't. What you can project is these things happen in football every year. And so before I go nuts and declare what's going to happen, I got to hedge my bet a little bit. Not to mention, forget the catastrophic injury, just the nickel and dime ones, right? I mean, okay, you just painted a picture completely accurately about 2 Chicago athletes who had injuries reroute their careers and abbreviate their careers.
Right.
Chris Bryant and Derrick Rose. If somebody told you anytime in 2016 that Chris Bryant by 2023 would be gone,
never would have believed
that. You, of course not.
Never would have believed it.
And when Derrick Rose was doing, and by the way, the thing that scared me about Derrick Rose was talking to one night to Dwight Howard. He's not one of my favorite people in the basketball universe. And Dwight Howard told me, he said, I told you, boy, he's got to stop flying through the air like that. He's got to stop that because you can't survive what happens on these landings. This is Dwight Howard in the moment in which Derrick Rose is flying high, right? This is the MVP season. So some of these things in general terms have to be expected. Therefore, your hot take can't be quite as hot when you realize the things that bring people to their knees in sport. And so we got way too much of that here. We got Derrick Rose. Bryant wasn't a knee injury. Come on, man. I'm of an age where Gale Sayers' injury until Walter Payton was drafted and became Walter Payton, it haunted me as a little kid. And then to see Derrick Rose come through that similarly, Chicago sports have been reconfigured because of the knee injury. It just has. And so I now spend all my time worried. I want Caleb Williams first and foremost to just be healthy, to be as healthy as Tom Brady or healthier. Like, can you play?
Tom Brady missed a season with an ACL. I know. I'm saying that.
That's why I said Brady.
You're not immune to it,
right? You're not even Tom Brady not immune to it. Yeah. As anybody that's ever played. Okay, how about this? I got one better. Be as healthy as Walter Payton. Be as healthy as Sweetness.
Oh, how many games in a row did he play? Did he miss one game?
One game.
One game his entire career?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
His second year.
What I would give for that?
So that's what I'm. You want to know what I'm wishing for? That's the first thing I'm wishing for.
Good
health.
And
then other than that,
the rest will fall.
Then the rest, I think, given coaching and good teammates and the things that every club has to have, they can fall in place at least once. Listen, as great as people now talk about overstatement. Okay, the one that annoys me the most, the Aaron Rodgers stuff. So I never played fantasy football. I never do, but I did for 3 seasons. For 2 years, my quarterback was Aaron Rodgers. My quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. My team, name of my team was Buckus Sayers.
With Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback.
So they're winning these games. I'm still covering football at that time. I got to know Aaron a little bit. I said, let me just tell you something. I told Aaron this. He loved it. He stood up and hugged me at the locker, started laughing. He loved it. And we talked about why I don't play fantasy football. Aaron Rodgers has won 4 MVPs. He's been to as many Super Bowls as Rex Grossman.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so shut up. I don't want to hear that somebody has to be great, and if he plays with a great defense, he's going to do this. Shut up. Shut up. He's been to, one more time for people on the West Coast, as many Super Bowls as Rex Grossman. So
it's sobering.
There's people don't have any sort of sense of, there's no perspective. And I understand if you're rooting for the Jets, I'm not talking about Mike Greenberg now. That's his team, like the Bears are my team, and we're irrational. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who go on and make these dumb declarations. By the way, Aaron Rodgers, who I had as my quarterback on my fantasy teams, who had a better career, him or Ben Roethlisberger?
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers.
The hell he did.
Right. Same with like Eli Manning.
Because Ben Roethlisberger won 2 and went to 3 times as many Super Bowls as Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that. And so nobody pushes back now. Numbers have to guide it all. Analytics have to guide it all. Well, he completed this percentage of his passes. If I went out on Sunday for 10 years, who would I want as my quarterback? No matter what position on that team I played, Ben Roethlisberger or Aaron Rodgers, you take the guy who went once.
I would, because he's a better quarterback.
Of course.
I'm taking the guy who somehow helped guide this team to 3. He gave me a chance 3 times. 3 is more than 1. I didn't major in math, but I know that.
We were just talking about this. Didn't this come up recently?
I hope it did.
Like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we were talking about it.
I'd still take Aaron Rodgers.
We brought it up on the show where
you're also uniquely qualified as a professional receiver of the football to argue this position. Nobody else is.
Well, because you can't win that. Dan Marino. I mean, is anyone going to argue against Dan Marino?
Yeah, I'm going to take Ben Roethlisberger 1,000 times.
Oh, no chance. No.
I don't care about passing. The position is quarterback, not passer.
Wait. You're going to take Ben Roethlisberger over Dan Marino
every time? Every time.
Oh, you're out of here. Now you're now.
No.
You're going to take on the West Coast. You're out of your mind.
Are you going to take Pete Maravich over Isaiah Thomas?
I never saw Pete play.
Dan Marino today, what he would do in today's game,
he had a day.
He had a day when the rules, you shouldn't ever throw for 4,000 yards back in those days. He was great.
He was a great and perhaps unparalleled passer. The position is not
what are you saying that he did
Silvy,
well?
Quarterback is the most important position in sports in North America.
He wasn't responsible for the Dolphins' defense.
Yeah, so wait, if he's not passing, what are you judging him on?
So what is it that Ben was short on?
Listen, this is not. I'm not talking Ben down. You guys got 2 Hall of Famers. I'm taking Dan Marino over Ben Roethlisberger.
You go ahead, because these are the positions that don't get enough pushback.
Let me ask you a question.
Aaron Rodgers is the all-time great. Better than even Aikman? What?
Who was?
What? No.
But you're saying, though, that Marino is not better than Roethlisberger?
I'm saying I want to play with the best quarterback. I don't care about the passing numbers.
But
that's what I'm saying.
What else are you judging the quarterback on?
Winning.
You were just ranting about that.
No.
You were just
win the game. He was ranting for Ben, not Aaron.
For Ben, not Aaron.
He's
for
been.
Ben.
Yes.
I'm taking Ben Roethlisberger over Aaron Rodgers.
I thought he was preaching.
No.
I want Rodgers over Ben Roethlisberger.
You guys go right ahead.
Yeah.
And I'll have an extra
I thought
parade.
he was with us for
I'll have an extra.
Did you know?
I'll have an extra parade.
I was not in my head. I'm like, he did Rodgers.
Yeah,
he got you. He got you.
I'll have an extra parade. And you guys go ahead and you celebrate with Aaron and have some what is that stuff? The ayahuasca, what is that?
Ayahuasca.
You have some ayahuasca, and I'll have a parade. You go ahead.
No,
I don't want to drop acid for any reason. I think one guy's a better overall player of that position.
I don't care.
Michael,
I want to win the game.
You're doing analytics on a lower
No,
level.
I'm not doing analytics.
You're just doing you're just counting wins, something that
I'm
he's
counting
not
a guy
necessarily
who was out there for 15 years, just like Aaron Rodgers.
But there are
every
52
Sunday.
other players. He is Aaron Rodgers with your eyes. With your eyes, who's the better quarterback?
I'm not even judging that. I'm saying who I'd want to play with. Again, I had him as my fantasy quarterback. I get the numbers.
For those 3 years.
Well, I'm not looking at numbers. I mean,
I can't believe
you must be. Of course you are.
No, I'm not. I'm trusting my eyes.
You are. You got this.
Like,
but your eyes have watched film. And
you're taking Roethlisberger over Rodgers and Marino.
Yes. I'm taking Roethlisberger's career. Listen to what I said. Not his form of passing the football, not his yardage in any one season. Winning the damn football game. Why do we play, to quote Herm Edwards? Only one reason. You guys may play for another reason.
They won lots of games, though.
I grew up on the South Side. I play for one reason.
Well, so Barkley, you're not taking under any circumstance.
Over who?
Well, let's go.
Let's let people.
Who's the Roethlisberger?
Not a whole list. Not a whole list.
If Barkley's Marino, who's never won one.
Robert Ory.
Like,
Robert Ory's not Roethlisberger. And you guys know.
Give me a Roethlisberger.
So try again.
Clyde Drexler.
Chris Bosh.
Clyde Drexler had to be traded
Chris Bosh.
and go somewhere. Clyde Drexler.
I'm just making stuff.
And by the way, Chris Bosh was never the best player on his team. Charles was. Come on, you guys got to give me real analogies. You're not sneaking stuff past me like I'm one of these callers from Schaumburg.
We love our callers from Schaumburg.
Yeah, you don't disparage our callers.
What a shot I just took.
So let me ask you a question.
I should have picked that other place with the racetrack.
So my guess is, yeah, I know you're in town for site search over there, Arlington Heights.
I can't believe that I didn't follow along with it.
No, you had an easy shot.
Yeah, you preach.
He's got Terry Bradshaw as his favorite quarterback of all time because he won 4.
Tyler Marino.
All you're doing is counting. You're doing analytics on a lower level.
No.
You're basing it on numbers.
No, you're
counting, not letting your eyes.
You're counting if you take Robert Ory over Scottie Pippen, then you're counting because he wasn't the player of influence night after night after night after night. And somebody else, you can't argue that against Ben Roethlisberger. You can't. Because he took every snap.
Well,
he took every snap Aaron Rodgers took.
By the way, this is not a dump on Ben Roethlisberger. I think a lot of us have a ton of respect for Ben Roethlisberger.
He's got his place.
This is about.
I'm just talking about career. I'm talking about the resume that says 2 Super Bowls and been to 3. That's all I'm talking about.
Again,
by the way, you're going to tell me that the Packers don't have talent? Stop it. You mean to tell me Aaron Rodgers hasn't had offensive talent? By the way, if we go man for man for 15 years, the 15 years Roethlisberger played, I'm not so sure the Packers wouldn't come out ahead man to man if we assess that.
I would have to look at the numbers. Did the Steelers typically have a significantly better defense to go along?
I think they typically have
a better defense. A huge impact.
Okay, but what about Rodgers having better receivers probably than not in the history?
And maybe that's why his stats were better. But when they needed a defensive stop, who had a better chance of making that stop? Was it the Steelers or the Packers?
Roethlisberger had damn good receivers.
Yes,
damn good receivers.
I think anybody who wins even one Super Bowl has good teammates.
I can't believe you.
So listen, I'm serious about this.
The Dan Marino hate?
What? It's not hate. He's maybe the greatest passer of the football of all time.
And I'm so pissed at myself
but I'm not,
for allowing him.
I'll give you numbers. I'll give you numbers.
He had you on a leash. He was walking you.
What is we talking about? Are you taking Marino over Joe Montana?
No.
Wait.
My eyes tell me that Joe Montana is a better quarterback.
Montana was one of the best of all time.
Okay, we get into this argument with generationally. If I had one game to play for my life, I lose it that night if I lose. Who's my quarterback?
Probably Tom Brady.
Montana for me.
Okay, I can't argue with you.
You're not going to lose that way. Like that's not one. But
you could argue against it.
I think there's a very good chance for me that give us 7 years, and my answer is going to be Patrick Mahomes.
But if I'm playing for my life and it's between Dan Marino and Ben Roethlisberger
Ben, 'cause I'm
to
living.
win a game,
And Silvy,
I'm
going to
taking
say
Marino.
such nice things at your funeral. I'm going to be so good. Here lies my friend Mark Silverman in his
I had him.
You
in his
better
aqua
be,
uniform.
You better be 110 years old when this is happening.
I'm
'Cause
shocked.
I'm not planning on going. So.
I'm
You
shocked
better
that
not go anywhere.
he was walking you down the street.
I'm like,
too.
yeah, Wilbon's talking some sense here.
Yeah.
Saying that
You didn't
Rodgers,
realize.
I thought he was saying that
No.
all these people disparage Rodgers for only winning one.
No,
Yeah.
well, I don't. There's no disparaging. I'm just saying he's won one. So let's not declare him the greatest quarterback of all time, or even his own time, or even his own generation. This what comes into play with LeBron and Steph, which is a great discussion. As great as LeBron is, how can he be the GOAT if he's got the same number of titles in the same generational time frame as Steph Curry?
Who's the better overall player?
LeBron.
That's what I would say.
Overall, but you know what's interesting?
Because he plays on both ends of the floor
overall,
better.
Both ends. At
Right.
least he did. Overall, LeBron. But you know what? LeBron didn't change the game. Steph Curry changed the game.
Now we're talking a different
Well,
conversation.
what goes into your analysis of greatest career or legacy? I mean, again, people go into these things without having. At least we can sit here and defend our turf and defend our positions and go at it.
See, I would offer
think
to
there's a
take
lot
some
of
calls from
nuance.
Schomburg, but they're going to be pissed at you. You got to go to dinner,
I
don't
do.
you?
I
All
do.
right.
We
All
can
right.
do this.
If you want to react to what Wilbon had to
No,
say,
don't let him react to
you
me.
know, this is what we do.
Tell him to go away. Tell him to